Yes, there are always people who say one thing and think something different. That's entirely
Mm-hmm.
true. But when
Yep.
you think that every time somebody says believes something and then believes something different, that is cynicism. And when you do it to somebody in the past, that's a terrible anachronism. And you have just imposed your own ideas on that person.
We talk about the importance of maintaining people's reputations. The same applies to people that are dead.
Code of Canon Law number 220.
Like we said, folks, he's a nerd about everything.
I'm probably one of the few laymen that is not an active paid canon lawyer that has a copy of the Code of Canon Law on my
Yeah.
shelf. Here it is. It's right here. I have an actual copy of the Code of Canon Law because the university library was purging books, and this particular edition was on it. And I said, hey, it might be useful. That's how much of a nerd I am.
There you go. There you go.
But yes, Canon number 220. No one may unlawfully harm the good reputation which a person enjoys or violate the right of any person to protect his or her privacy. Which is basically a good reason to say why Catholics can't be conspiracy theorists. Which is another way that people do history wrong.
Yeah.
It oftentimes is a form of anachronism. But that just is another way that people do history wrong, where they look at the past and they try to brute force their theory as to why things are the way they are. Now, some conspiracies have been proven.
Mm-hmm.
I'll grant that. But to automatically assume every single time that the official story is not true and that you're going to go and prove something else is kind of not right. Not kind of, it's very not right. You should never try to do that. Especially if you just never leave your house. If you decide that you're going to do this from the comfort of your own home or
Mm-hmm.
your office, and then come up with an entire theory as to why the modern nation of Israel is to blame for every problem in Western civilization. The modern nation of Israel, which didn't exist before 1949, is somehow to blame for the First World War, then you're doing something horribly wrong.
Yeah, and this is coming, folks, from two people who are anything but Zionist apologists. Like,
No, I don't trust
no.
Netanyahu as far as I can throw it. Like, my
Yep.
personal opinion of what needs to be done with the Holy Land is another crusade. Like, we should take it back and present it to the Holy Father as the new papal Zouaves. That's what we need to do.
Sounds good to me.
That's the best possible thing for Israel and Palestine. But I also recognize that that's probably not going to happen. I also think the United States ought to become a confessional state, and we need to have, presidents and, congressmen and Supreme Court justices basically all acknowledge the validity of the Church of Rome. But that's probably also not going to happen.
Yeah, sign me up for it if it does so.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah. But no, it gets at the point, right? Like, it's unscientific.
Yeah.
It's unscientific to propose conspiracy theories because you're starting with like an observation, but you're not observing enough, and your hypothesis is not going to hold water unless you actually do brute force it.
It's like
If you are
saying
open-minded
it's like
about
saying
it.
my house burnt down because of the Jewish space laser. When the fire department just told you that it burned down because you left a candle lit
Yeah, it's like, no, I know
by
they've
your
been working on.
curtains.
I know they've been working on this weapon, and I know that that they maybe don't like people, and I know Mossad is interesting, shall we say? So
And shady, yeah.
I guess they hit me with a space laser. I know it.
Even though you're
I
a
know it.
nobody, that nobody would like. Why would they even care about you?
Yeah.
Like, no, maybe you just left that candle lit, or maybe you just left the stove on when you shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. This is why I say extreme views require extreme proof. Like, if you can back it up, great. But
Irrefutably, there's a reason that in court they demand that you prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt.
yeah, even if you don't go that far, like, where's the greatest weight of evidence? I know, and can this withstand criticism? And can you be open-minded about it and come to this conclusion? Can you honestly assess multiple different possibilities
And you should at
and
least
come to
leave
that
your house when
conclusion?
you're trying to prove it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That too. So, yeah, I have both Ethan and I have very serious beef with a number of conspiracy theories. So,
Most of them
not all wrong,
involving the
but
Jews.
well,
There are some
only
like
so many of them.
with with the Jews and the modern nation state of Israel. I can see at least where the starting point is, but it just goes so far.
Well, the
So off
reason
the
you can
beaten
say
path.
mostly about the Jews is just because you haven't listened to enough conspiracy theories. People are crazy.
Oh, I've listened to plenty. I just the ones about the Jews are the most rational ones, and even those I refuse to listen to because of how irrational they are.
Okay.
that's that's where it goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
I acknowledge their starting point, and then from there, I'm like, yeah, okay, but what about this too? Which is, by the way, another way that people get history wrong when you're proving history. Or not really another way. This is kind of how we're talking about it. When you are forming a hypothesis or a theory of why a certain thing has happened, you need to be okay with being proven wrong,
Mm-hmm.
with having a wrong answer to start off with. And even in the work that you're writing, say, I thought this first, but now, after all this evidence, I actually think this. And you can actually go back. This is I know this is a wild idea, but this is one of the things that I was taught in every history course I ever took from the greatest professor of history ever. It is okay to go back and revise your question and answer if you realize you have approached a dead end in research.
Because it's pure honesty.
By the way, that professor that I am talking about was Dr. Joseph Stewart, who wrote Rethinking the Enlightenment that you can get from Sophia Institute Press. And I will shamelessly promote the book that he wrote. This is a very, very good book. And he's a very, very good professor of history.
Mm-hmm. We will link it in the description. But yeah. No, it's
But
just
you have
pure,
to be okay with being
honesty.
proven wrong. And just be honest with yourself. That actually is what humility is as a virtue. It isn't thinking that you're not as great as you actually are. Humility as a virtue is just being honest with yourself, acknowledging what abilities and talents you have, but then knowing where they end and knowing what is beyond you.